Okay, so this will be my first lesson on the nature movement language. Using this language, we use a table that looks like this. Okay, there's 7 categories: movement, movement quality, movement level, time, space, direction, and symbol. The movement has to do with, the classifications of movement have to do with Rosangela Silvestre's technique, which involves the triangles in the body form. The first triangle of intuition is from the shoulders to the top of the head. The second triangle of expression is from the shoulders to the belly button. And the third triangle of balance is from the hips to the center of the feet. In the nature movement language, we talk about movement as the primary descriptor. So the movement has to do with, we're going to use the elements of earth in each of the first 3 categories. So if the movement is footwork or structural, moving through space, we're going to call that earth. That is an earth movement. If the movement is expressive and undulating like water, we're going to call that water. If it has to do with emotion, if emotion is the primary thing that is up front, we're going to call that water movement. If the movement is a turn or some sort of transformation, we're going to call that an air movement, turns, right? If the movement is an attack movement, we're going to call that fire. That can be leaps, jumps, any movement that is done with an attack. That would be the primary category, using those 4 elements. The movement quality is going to further describe this movement in terms of, is this a firm, grounded movement? That would be considered an earth movement quality. Is this a very flowing, free movement? That is going to be considered a flowing, expressive movement. That is going to be considered a water movement quality. If it is a movement that gives the dancer freedom or transformation, if transformation and freedom is the dominant quality, we're going to call that an air movement quality. If fierceness or attack is the prominent quality, we're going to call that a fire movement quality. Next, we have the movement level. This has to do with what part of the body is leading this movement. So let's say it's an earth movement with a water quality, but it's being led by the chest. That is going to be considered an earth movement with water quality with air movement level, because air is in the chest where the lungs are, right? Air, we breathe air. Next we have time, space, direction, and symbol. So time, you can describe that in terms of rhythm. You can mark the rhythm on this little box here. You can describe it with a word. You can describe it in terms of, you can really use this table in any way that you want. So the time, you can describe how you want. If you're familiar with music or musicality, let's say the movement goes boom, 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 bra, you can do ... star. Next we have space. This is the way that you're going to describe the movement in space. So you can describe this in terms of the relationship to the walls of the room, or you can describe this in terms of directions: north, east, south, west. That would only require you to orient which direction is which direction in the room or the nature that you're working in the space that you're working in. Okay, next we have direction. That's a more specified description of what type of, which way the movement is moving, okay? So it appears that space and direction, this one kind of describes how much space you're covering with the movement. Is it a lot of space? Is it a little space? This could be described in the ratio of the total space that you're working with. The direction can be described in terms of north, south, east, west, as it is in relationship to the room or the space that you're working in. Our last category is symbol. That means that you can use symbols for the 4 elements. You can use symbols that work for you. You can use any symbol that you feel further describes this movement.